welcome. So today we're just gonna have a chat first to talk about Bethlehem, which we just watched, but also your career at large, because you're not just an actor, but you're also a musician,
Yes,
and that's where it really kind of all started for you.
exactly. First of all, hello everyone.
Hello.
You're kind of in the dark, but okay, we'll leave it that way. I hope you enjoyed the movie. It's I'm very excited to be here in India. It's my first visit to India, and it's my first day in Mumbai. So having sitting here in front, with actors, it's brilliant. Like you mentioned, I'm basically a musician, a singer-songwriter. All my life, I was pursuing my musical career in Israel. I'm based in Israel. Um, and actually, Bethlehem for me is very special because it's the present I received in life. It's this great gift.
Mm.
I never thought of acting 10 years ago. You would have said actor. I said, I'm a musician. I mean, actors, it's all these emotions and to dig deep in. And we're musicians. It's different. And then a friend of mine that speaks Arabic, like I know him from the army, he called me. He said, "Listen, they're looking. There's this project called Bethlehem, and they're looking for people who speak Arabic." And he knows I speak Arabic from the army days. I said, I was 36. I said, "I don't know. Sounds interesting. Yeah, why not?" And I went to audition, and they decided to take a chance on me. Actually, what happened with this movie, they already casted an actor.
Mm.
They auditioned all the actors in Israel. The director chose an actor. They worked for 2 weeks together, and he decided that it doesn't work.
Mm.
So he opened it to non-actors.
Mm.
And I passed the audition. Shadi Mar'i, the kid that also plays also in Fauda in the Netflix series,
Mhm.
he was 16 and a half when they filmed. He was a student in Hisham Sliman, who plays his brother in the movie.
Mhm.
He owns a theater in Nazareth in Israel,
Mhm.
and he was one of his students. So
Mm.
he was casted also. Hisham was casted in the movie, and Badawi,
Mhm.
he's a he's a photographer for the news, for
Mhm.
news broadcasting.
Mhm.
The director was touring Jerusalem,
Mhm.
and he met him in the street,
Mm.
and he went up to him and said, "Do you mind auditioning for a movie?"
Mhm.
Like in the middle of the street. He said, "Yeah, okay."
Mm.
And it opened up the career for the for the four of us.
Mm.
Like I mentioned, I never thought of acting before. So for me, it was an amazing experience. It was my first time in front of a camera, and since then, since 2012, 13, when it came out, and to our surprise, it became a big. Very successful in Israel and internationally. We traveled a lot. We had a lot of screenings around the world.
Mm.
And yeah, for the past 9 years, I've been focused on acting. I took my guitar, put her aside. I said, "Darling, I love you. We spent really many years together,
Mhm.
but I need to discover a new craft, a new world. So I'm going to leave you aside a bit."
Mm.
And I've been mainly focusing on trying to learn how to be an actor.
Okay. Well, tell us about that journey. What's that been like?
Um, First of all, I would say I consider it like very lucky for me. I mean, even this opportunity, to start with a project like that. Obviously, afterwards, like you have this sense that maybe after this movie and we won prizes, everything is gonna open up. Nah, I need to do the work,
Yeah.
and I took it. I really grabbed it with both of my hands, and I mean, like I mentioned, I feel that I'm always a student. Every set, every new project I start is like I consider myself a new actor.
Mm.
I always come very open-minded to be like trying to be as open as I can, as fluent as I can. Try to learn from my partners. Try to learn from my directors. Um, I always look for challenging myself
Mm.
in that sense. I always say that as an artist, when you feel comfortable, it's too boring,
Mm.
and you don't really, when you cannot stretch your limits or try to understand your limits or try to like how much
Mm.
you can expand to,
Mm.
then why do it?
Mm. Yeah, no. I
So
mean,
so this is what, in a way, this is what, I said again, I think I'm lucky to be part of a few good projects that
yeah.
from Israel that became international. I had the chance of doing some international projects. I just filmed a Swedish series, like
Oh wow, that's exciting.
all the actors are Swedish, and I was the only Israeli guy.
Mm.
That was not for a part called Johan,
Mm.
obviously.
Mm.
But that was interesting because, this brings me also to the understanding, which is very, it's great to discover that no matter where you film,
Mm.
actors, crew members are the same. It's the same DNA. The cameraman, he is this guy, and the guy,
Yeah.
it's the same. It's
They're
just
modern day
speaking
circus people.
Yeah,
They travel in
yeah.
groups like that. They're
Yeah.
they're
Same
bohemian
people.
that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, yeah, but it seems like the transition from music to film or actor has been really, really very fluid and something that's been seamless. Or has it been more difficult or easier than you expected?
Um, I wouldn't say I don't think easy. I think first this role in Bethlehem, in a sense, I would say was kind of an easy welcoming
Mhm.
because I served 4 years in the military service in Israel and an undercover unit. That actually, if you've seen Fauda, that's what I did in the army. So I had a certain sense of how the Shin Bet officers work and how they are. I did some research for that. I speak the language.
Mm.
The script was written really good. You didn't really need to
Very yeah.
challenge it too much.
Mm.
But I remember the day before filming, I was nervous
Mm.
because I sensed that all the producers, everybody is like, their eyes are on me to see whether I can do it or not.
Mm.
And I called the director and I said, "Listen, Yuval, you must give me something to work with.
Mm.
I've never done it." He said, "Okay, Tsahi, listen. You are a very warm person. You like hugging. You like touching. That tomorrow when you come to set, none of this. You don't speak to anyone. You don't touch anyone. You're you're not smiling to anyone. That, and I don't know why it kind of maybe was the focus that it made me really be focused. Maybe it helped me generate all the energy to be in the character.
Mhm.
Um, so if I go back, to your question about the transition from music to acting, I think acting is, in a way, also it's very musical. It's I always a lot of I I use terms from music to acting. Like, have you seen Fauda?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Okay. So I mean, there was. Sometimes I'm asked what's the uh, like the best scene I've enjoyed in two seasons I was part in Felda.
Uh-huh.
Was a scene where I'm sitting with Shadi,
Uh-huh.
this guy, 5 years after we filmed at Lechem.
Mhm.
We're in prison,
Mhm.
and I'm put in prison in order to make him speak.
Mhm.
I'm under like this different character, a guy from. And we shot all these scenes in one day. It's 5, 6 scenes.
Mhm.
Like we shoot the scene, we take out, breathe some air, shoot the second scene. And for me, it was like jamming. It's like when musicians, when we jam.
Mhm.
It's a give and take,
Mm.
and you feel it
Of course.
when you're jamming with an actor. You feel it when it's good. When they're
Absolutely.
stuck and when they're not listening. When when you're not listening. When you get this like, you can feel it's different.
Mm.
So I always take this example. So I use the jamming. I always working in different languages or trying to approach scenes. I always try to listen to the music of the words of the character.
Mm.
Um, I had the experience of stage performance before acting.
Okay.
I spent 10 years dancing in this percussion and dance group called Mayumana, like the Israeli stomp,
Oh wow.
you know, body
Fantastic.
percussion.
Mhm.
So I had the sense of the body of
Mhm.
how I can.
Mhm.
One of the last projects I did in Israel was I needed to portray a rapist,
Oh wow. Okay.
which was again challenging.
For sure.
The first time I was asked, actually, they asked me, "Would you mind portraying a rapist?" I said, "Yeah,
Mhm.
of course."
Why not, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's here. It's
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
It's over there.
Mhm.
Yeah, but then you start thinking, oh,
Do I really want to go there?
oh wait,
Yeah.
people
Mhm.
are gonna think, you know. Sometimes the audience can't really make the difference
Yeah,
between,
that's a big problem.
you know,
for sure.
between the acting. But then I said, no, I can't. I must do it now. How do I make him as distant from Tsahi?
Uh-huh.
So I started with physical things.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, I just had the picture. It's based on a true story.
Mhm.
So it's Miss Universe, actually, the Israeli Miss Universe, who was raped. It was in the 90s.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. He was kind of a bit small, so I said, okay. So I put my elbows down
Uh-huh.
and I walked with my hands, like,
Mhm.
and I put on some
Some
like
weight.
and I
Mhm.
added some things, and I spoke with
Mhm.
Ra, with
Mhm.
different. Okay, that's physical, but what's
Emotional.
yeah.
Mm.
So through reading the script, I started hating what I read.
Mm.
So I said, okay, I really hate myself.
Mm.
I'm a person that doesn't like anything about himself.
Mm.
Not the way he looks, not the way he speaks, not
Mm.
the way, like, he's full of self-hatred.
Mm.
He can't look himself in the mirror. And I tried. So I think in a way there's a lot of similarities
Mm.
between, you know, music and, you know, and
Actually, I agree with you 100%. You know, as a percussionist myself,
oh, okay.
every actor, filmmaker is a musician somewhere. You know, or you know, a failed musician, or a struggling musician, or a successful musician. But we all have something with music, and I think it's because, like you said, a scene has a certain rhythm, and a life has a certain fluidity that you find in music. And I think that musicians and dancers bring that to acting because there's an understanding that's intimate about sort of what it means to understand a piece and internalize a piece, you know, which is something that, you know, especially when you're dealing with something that doesn't have verbal language like music and dance,
Yeah.
you're speaking a different language. You're speaking a language that has to communicate as much emotion,
Mhm.
but nonetheless, still be something that the audience can understand and interpret. So yeah, that's beautiful.
I think, you know, I'm sometimes I'm asked for me what is acting,
Mm-hmm.
and since I never studied,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any theories.
Mm-hmm.
I I I always say, and it's funny because I've been for the past 5 years I've been given kind of doing these um, uh, workshops,
Mm-hmm.
but especially for with the special forces,
Mhm.
and then just to give them this
Mm-hmm.
added value.
Mhm.
And I tell, listen, I don't know how to act.
Mhm.
I don't know how. Not only theory, what I do know is how to feel.
Yeah.
And
That's
you know,
more than
and
enough.
that's, you know, the minute you can be attached, you know,
Mhm.
emotionally to what you say,
Mhm.
you know, the place you're at this specific situation, the
Mhm.
character, then people would believe you.
Well, yeah, and one of the things that we often talk about here at the studio is acting is a terrible name for the job.
Yeah.
No, it really is because
Yeah.
you know people say action and they think that they have to do something. And actually, you know, one of the things in watching Bethlehem that I thought was really impressive about your work was your stillness. And that's interesting that you were able to bring that already to your work in your first project, because stillness is something that most actors take years to get to. Because again, they hear that word action, you know, and even in the silent moments of their part or the listening moments of their part, eh, being still seems antithetical to what they're supposed to do,
Hmm.
you know, and then that stillness comes from an openness of feeling. So, bravo.
And it's funny because, you know, in Hebrew,
Mhm.
there isn't a word for actor. You say sachkan. Sachkan is a player.
Mm. Mhm.
And I always take it, for me,
Mhm.
it's when do you play roles? When you're a kid.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's kind of, in a way, being an actor is playing. And I always give this example. I was filming this comedy 4 years ago, and there was this scene where this guy, he's shooting at us. We're a group of guys touring Israel and looking, and I don't know, we're spreading the ashes of one of our friends that his grandfather died, and it's a crazy comedy, and we're hiding behind rocks, and this guy is shooting at us, and in the middle of the scene, I'm just starting to laugh, and my partner was like, what? And I told him, Shlomi, his name is, I mean, look, we're 40 something, and look what we're getting paid for. I mean, he's shooting at us, and we're hiding behind, false rocks. This is fun,
We
man.
did this when we were 10.
This is fun.
Yeah.
This is not work. And so I don't know. I enjoy it so much. I
No,
think it's and I always say, if the minute, even on stage, I even hear like I'm excited, or if I go and play music in front of five people, inside it's really, and I said, if I would stop feeling it, then I should change profession.
I say this to our actors all the time, when they're getting ready for a show or something like that, and just to rebound off of that. If 5 people come out of their houses and deal with this traffic and this heat to come and see your performance, that's a win, That's a win. And I think that, in today's day and age, and that's my next question, today's day and age, everyone's looking for viral videos and, huge numbers and quantity, right? But having looked at your filmography and looking at the stuff you do, you really seem to have chosen quality, and that's really antithetical. That's against the grain of what people are doing, right?
I remember, since Israel is a very small market, and after Bethlehem, I did 2 series, like this daily drama and another 10, 12 episode drama. And then I said, one of the toughest things as an artist, as an actor, let's say, in Israel, in a small market, is, on one hand, you need the work, because you need to keep on, otherwise, you need to bring money. I mean, you need to work. But on the other hand, it's such a small market that if you're in this series and you're in this series and you're in this movie and the audience sees you, then after they will be fed up seeing you, or you'll be casted to the same roles. I mean, we have some actors. He's a policeman in this series, and he plays in this series. And he's a policeman everywhere. Like he's about to get the car from the police. He's going to become the police chief. And I really tried to, actually, honestly, 2 years ago, I reached the point where I started saying no.
Good for you.
To projects. Again, I consider it, being lucky to being offered to audition, to a couple of series and movies that are, that I could recognize the quality of the work, whether it's it all starts with the script and the story, obviously, but working with this director, working with these and I am, like I said, I'm always trying to find the projects that bring me something new, like help me discover new things about myself, and that includes student movies. Like,
so you're still doing student films?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Sometimes, when I get project, I read, I said, okay, this is something, I would want to do, and I honestly believe that you can, learn from every project you do.
Sure.
And sometimes these student projects, they bring you the opportunity to do something that you might not be able to, the big projects, they won't give you this, whether it's this role, this specific character or story. And I am also, in a way, trying to expand, do some international project. You spoke about the action. I was part of this movie called Mary Magdalene with Garth Davis, the director of Lion, and we filmed in Italy. And I remember it was the first time we were like 10 actors in the mountains in Italy. And it's night, and he's lighting everything like with small candles and stuff. And okay, we're sitting, and we have some French actors, Australian actors, Israeli actors, and silence. And then he comes like this, said, "You start in your own time." And I was the beginning. I was like, "Wait, when is no action?
Mm.
There's no action. Okay."
Mm.
And that was kind of different, you know. It's a different approach. Like you
Mm.
say, it's not the action. You know, everybody is.
Mm.
And I think I also chose in a way. Even when I hear action,
Mm.
I always take a couple of seconds before.
As you should.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
You
No,
Give
it's
yourself
not,
that time to roll into
it's
it.
not obvious, you know. Sometimes it's like, you know, because of stress of filming and stuff. It's not that obvious, but I always remind myself, you know, this
Mm.
action. I breathe. I say, okay.
Got to put 60 seconds back into a minute because it goes fast otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And is there any one thing, you know, because you keep talking about how each role is different, you know, and I mean, in Fauda and in Bethlehem, you're playing something that's kind of, you know, more military and,
Yeah.
you know, dealing with big ticket issues. And then this story of a rapist telling sort of a true story. Is there anything that you look for specifically when you approach a role, albeit emotional, human, character, story? Is there anything that, like, you know, if you had to, now that you've been acting for 10 years, it's kind of like the Beatles, right? You know, everybody, you know, you start with I Want to Hold Your Hand, and then you wind up with the White Album,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, they didn't know that they were going there, but they got there because they were exploring music. They came all the way here to India, and now you've come to India, so who knows, maybe we'll hear you on a Ravi Shankar album or Anushka Shankar.
Yeah,
This is
I
the moment.
hope.
Yeah. But is there anything that you're sort of looking for in your career or chasing or that, you know, when you read it, you're like, that I can do that. I want to play that. Is there anything specific that you feel?
You know, like I said, I think first of all, it's always looking for this role that gives me the opportunity to explore my boundaries, uh, where I could feel there is an emotional, you know, arc to this character. Um, Something that I haven't touched yet.
Mhm.
Like I could say that I had the great chance of doing some comedy. People take me very like, you know, because he said all these roles of, you know, tough macho guy. Blah, blah, blah. I'm very foolish in my, you know. So and I love comedy, and I had the chance of actually filming. It was quite a big hit in Israel, 2019. It's called The Mossad.
Mhm.
It also like it's security issues, but in the genre of Naked Gun,
Oh,
Airplane.
so spoof.
We had the Zucker came to Israel. The Zucker brothers.
Oh, wow, very
one of
cool.
them came, yeah, and he worked with us, and it became like it was so much fun
I bet.
because you know, and it's this, you know, when you need to be dramatic, but you're just talking bullshit. Sorry.
That's okay. They've all heard bad words before. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah, we can
Yeah,
curse.
it's okay.
We can curse. It's
It's
okay.
okay. Go right ahead, please.
So comedy is, you know, is a great thing that I would like to explore more. Um, um, and you know, one of the fears I think of artists in general and probably actors is what's next.
Mm.
I always pursue. I push everyone. You know, I call all my age. I always every week. What's next? What's happening? You know, I have one in France, and I always bother them because I know that otherwise things won't happen. And the other hat is okay. I mean, if we're already discovering the world of acting, why not try to create? And you know, I totally am. I admire the fact that personally discovering television and cinema coming from the music, it gave me this whole picture. I said, okay, as a musician, you also create, you write songs, you know, you need to create your performances, you need to close gigs, you're an entrepreneur. And then now I discovered, you know, this visual that adds to the wider picture. So why not try and create? So I've been focusing these past couple of years on creating, you know, projects, and I'm involved. Whether it's a movie that we hope to produce to film this September, and I actually came here to India to try to develop the new collaboration between India and Israel, the first co-production.
That's exciting.
Yes, so it's looking for the right people to work with, and who knows, maybe some of you could get the chance to work together.
That's great. That's great. And so, you were telling me before we started this that after your military service, the choice was South America or India,
Yeah.
which is, I guess, sort of the typical.
Very typical to Israel, yes.
Yeah.
Either you go there or there.
Okay. And you chose South America,
I did.
which we will hold against you for sure.
You know why? You know why?
Please tell us.
Because my girlfriend back in the days was from Argentina, so I had no choice. I mean, I could not tell this. Let's
Well-
go to India.
You missed out because Indian women are the most beautiful in the world, so they say.
I know.
Yeah. And as you walk around, you will see.
I know.
But no, and but you were talking about how you feel sort of a penchant for India. There's something here
Yes.
that's kind of drawing you here, and if you could just kind of give us a little insight to maybe what that is, if you know yourself, because.
I don't know. I don't know what led to it. It's either sometimes I've been told that I look Indian.
Mhm.
Yes, maybe slightly.
No, but it's okay.
No.
That's all right.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. But as first of all, as a kid, I lived in 5 countries to the age of 18.
Mhm.
So that was like the beginning for me was kind of being an adventurous, always exploring and stuff. And I did think about India. Obviously, we traveled to South America, but then at a certain point, when I started performing with Mayumana, with the group, I started doing yoga,
Mhm.
the Iyengar yoga.
Mhm.
Then I started reading a lot about India. Then I started reading about the Mahatma Gandhi, seeing some, so that kind of, I remember like a couple of years that I was totally into, this, obviously saying India is so vast.
Yeah,
It's not
yes.
only yoga and it's not only, but that was, these points that attracted me to discover more about India. Obviously the big, we have a big Indian Jewish community in Israel, and so I know Indian food and I love Indian food. And I would say I really looked forward to finally coming here because, like I said, when you hear about some place and you never see it before, you only get a small percentage of what it is in
course.
reality. And I had this understanding as a kid because I lived in different countries and I knew that these gaps existed. So I had the spirit of learning a lot about India and wanting to visit. Never had the chance before. And I'm really grateful to finally be able to come here, although it's a very short visit. And I'm asked, how do you enjoy India? I say, this is my 4th day. I've been already 3 days in Delhi, 1 day in Mumbai. I spend most of the time in the car, just traveling from point to point, and
Sounds like a rock
and
star's life.
interviews, and but it's not really like, and after the military service, you do have the time to just travel. I spent a year in South America.
Oh wow, exciting.
Just traveling a year, so I don't know. Maybe I'll get the chance to.
You should
do a year here in India and really discover how it is.
I've lived here for 12 years, and I can tell you that
And it's not enough.
it's not a question of enough. I think India has this the notion of rebirth, and I think if you spent 1,000 lifetimes living here, you'd still never understand it.
Yeah.
Because India, it's 1.4 billion people, and India exists within all 1.4 billion of them, and it's different to each person. So, welcome and enjoy your
Thank you
5th
very
day
much.
and your 6th day.
Thank you very much.
But now you've talked about maybe doing some work here. Have you had the opportunity to look at Indian cinema, which again is a huge
Yes,
thing?
it's a vast thing. I've seen obviously these movies that became international. I didn't have that that much time of discovering. But the last film I've seen was the Kashmir Files,
Okay.
which
Cinematographically.
it's amazing. It's like the way it's made, the way the actors there, some great performances. The theme, I don't know that much, about what really happened and how it is, so I cannot really express my ideas about it. But it was a very interesting film. But I think, like you mentioned, and from these 3 days, I understand that first of all, there's so many industries here in India.
Oh, yeah.
And so many movies are made. The market is so big, and the genre. I got this impression that first of all, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they like a lot of action here, explosions and
Explosions are big.
Yeah.
The bigger the explosion, the better.
Yeah.
No, Indian cinema at the moment is going through a unique time, actually, because we're watching, probably like you did in Israel. We are a big market, and the industry you see here in Mumbai is actually two industries at once. You have the Hindi language industry, which is the one that makes the most noise, and really is the largest. But then there's also a local industry of Marathi cinema, because Mumbai is actually a city of 4 languages, English being one, but Hindi, Gujarati, and Marathi are spoken equally as interchangeably here. And the Gujarati industry is up in Gujarat, the state, but we are in the state of Maharashtra. So there is a film industry in the language of Marathi here, and these films are more intimate, smaller. There is commercial cinema in Marathi as well, but Marathi cinema actually had a wonderful run between 2015 and 17, winning the Locarno Film Festival, the Berlin Film Festival. So there's a real enormous smattering of films that come out of Mumbai, but then of course in Hyderabad you have the Telugu industry. In Chennai you have the Tamil industry. So it's language-based and state-based. But the industry is going through a major change, because today what we're watching with the introduction of the online platforms, Netflix, Amazon, and the Alphabet.
And also local,
A lot of local players. We're witnessing an enormous renaissance for the actor, because when we began our studio 8 years ago, it was a 3-horse town. You had cinema, which everyone wanted to do, but you couldn't get a job. Theater, everybody wanted to do, but you couldn't get money. And television, nobody wanted to do, but it had all the money. And in the 8 years that the studio has been going, we now see this fourth vein that's opened up. And it's better writing, really good money, and a huge new ecosystem of actors, because the big names haven't come onto the online platforms. They're starting to now, but it opened up a new space for actors in India, and it's very exciting. It's been a really, really exciting time, and what that has done is it's moved the needle forward, in as much as that the quality of performances are now much more on display and much more important, because Indian shows sit on the same carousel on Netflix as Fauda, as American shows and French shows. So the quality has to be, comparable. And if it's not, then that show's not going to get watched.
Yeah, it's not going to get watched, although I think a lot of digital platforms not necessarily take good shows. I mean, not all the shows on Netflix are good.
No, Netflix is a bit of free fall, isn't it? But today in India, we're witnessing and watching a really amazing moment for actors, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
And like your story a little bit, it sounds like what you went through and what a lot of actors are experiencing here today is that they want to do things that are meaningful.
Yeah.
And that's now possible.
Yeah.
Not that the films of the 90s and early 2000s were nonsense, but they were just a very different language of cinema, speaking to a much different audience. And India, as the world has come in, and as the internet has sort of leveled the playing field, things have changed contextually. And that balance is something that the Indian film industry is trying to create right now. So it's an exciting time to be here, and international projects are something that people are really excited about. They really and truly are, because India is recognized for a very long time that it has its Hindi language audiences and its non-resident Indian audiences throughout the world. But since, about last 10, 15 years, non-Indian audiences are really interested in what's coming out of here.
Yeah.
Because everyone's heard of Bollywood.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what it is.
Yeah.
And some of the cultural films from the past were a little bit hard to enter, because they're very different. Today that's changed. That's
It was
changed.
amazing when before coming here. I was kind of I said, okay, what Hindi song should I sing?
Mhm.
And I asked a friend of mine, and he told me this Yara Yara Teri, yeah, exactly.
We'll sing it with you if you'd like.
Yeah.
We can do a sing along, guys.
Yeah.
Uh,
I need the words, but anyways, it was like
they can teach you.
yeah. And he told me that was a song of one of the Bollywood movies.
Oh, yeah.
And it was amazing to see, the impact that
Oh,
the
music.
had.
Music and films here are one and hand in
Yeah.
glove. Yeah, they're really important. A
And
couple years-
still till now.
Oh yeah, very much. The music of a film today sells before the film, and producers will actually probably make back the budget of their films from the music alone, and the film release is just kind of the extra. It's changed some, but music is still a big part of the film industry here because for so long, India, the films is where the public got its music. It's not like, say, in Israel or in other parts of the world where there's like FM radio and there's a whole music industry that exists outside of the film industry. No, they were very much the same industry and still are.
But does that mean that all actors need to know how to sing? Or?
No. As a matter of fact, even the actors who you see singing in the videos
They're not-
are
it's not
usually
that?
just lip singing.
Okay.
Uh,
They're Milli Vanilli.
They're Milli Vanilli. That's right. For those of you who know that reference.
Yeah.
I was just explaining that reference to someone.
Yeah.
Girl, you know it's true.
Yeah.
But we're dating ourselves a little bit. But no, even actually just recently, we have this thing here in India called background singers.
Okay.
Okay, and they'll sing the songs, and then the actor will, lip sync them. And just recently, this past year, India lost one of its most important singers, a woman by the name of Lata Mangeshkar. And if you've seen or heard any old Hindi music, there is no doubt you've heard her. She was the songbird of India to the point where actually the whole country, if you can imagine, Indians from one state to the next can't agree on anything. There was a day off for the whole country
Oh.
the day she passed away. It was a big deal, very, very big deal, because her voice was from the 60s onwards the voice of India.
And I think the Indian music also came. I started mentioning the song that I learned because when I was practicing, and it was kind of posted on the social media, I got a lot of feedbacks from Israel. Hey, I know the song. I've seen the movie. Like we had a period of time. I think it was 80s, 90s, where a lot of Indian, cinema was shown in Israel on television and the Indian music. So yeah, it's a big.
Oh no!
it's a
People associate the music. There was a play, a musical, a couple of years ago where they took an old Hindi film, Mughal Azam, and staged it as a play. And one of the actors invited me to the show, and I could not believe that 2,000 people in this theater sang every word to every song. I mean, the actors didn't have to do anything. But no, they don't need to be musicians. Conversely, though, actors here, this is a little bit less true today, but actors here do need to know how to dance.
dance.
Yeah, dancing is very important because music is still in the films, and they can't have a background singer dance for them.
And it's a specific dance.
Yeah,
And you
Bollywood.
studied it?
We don't train Bollywood dance here, and I can't Bollywood
Okay, I
dance.
thought maybe I could take.
No, but I have there are at least one or two people in here I know who can definitely teach you.
Okay.
And trust me, if you could pull off a couple of Bollywood dance moves, you've sold yourself to India. I assure you. Just get the elbows going and the shoulders. You're fine.
I'm starting.
It's all on the shoulders, really. Actually, hips and shoulders. All right. But yeah, dance is because India has had this wonderful relationship with its arts because it's so old that they've evolved beautifully into the modern age, and Indians want the whole package. Where in our cultures we're a little bit used to saying dance belongs
Yeah,
here.
but when you think about it, like back in the 40s, 50s,
Yeah, exactly.
60s, I mean, actors, they were great dancers, great singers,
Yeah.
and something, I mean, try to now in the, call it in other industries, make a musical. It's
Yeah.
really tough.
Well, actually, it's funny. We've moved away from musicals in Indian cinema, but today I have this little notion that if somebody makes a great musical, it's going to kill it because people are really missing that. A song that they all sing along to.
I'm actually trying to develop now a new project, a new idea in Israel, which I hope
Mhm.
will be like involving in kind of music, and it's
Great.
quite interesting. Yeah, because you need to. I mean, first of all, kind of build the drama,
Mhm.
and then think about the music, and
Mhm.
we're really trying to figure out this character. I mean, what's his story, but it's a thrilling.
That's exciting.
Yes.
That's
an
really, really
experience.
exciting. Yeah. And your music, just to circle back to that, your music, what genre, like, was the one rock, folk,
Well,
all of the above?
I came from the rock.
Mhm.
In the '90s, I grew in Brussels in
Mhm.
Belgium.
So you had long hair, wearing a flannel shirt, thought you were Kurt Cobain.
You said long hair, but I have curly hair. So imagine, when you grow a hair and you have curly hair, it's kind of you look like
I have the same problem. Don't worry. I'm right here with
like if you take put something how do you call it, a pot and cut it in. That's the way it looks. Terrible. But yeah, it was the grunge times. So I came from the rock, and as a musician, it was always a struggle. Being in again, Israel is a small market, and I, I'm a singer-songwriter. I wouldn't touch really. I wrote mostly in English up to 2011. I found it. I still find the Hebrew language kind of more challenging to write because even I don't know if you recognize the difference between Arabic and Hebrew because they come from the same origins, but Arabic has much more letters, and Arabic also has different spaces. Letters that you pronounce with the whole space of your mouth, as opposed to in Hebrew, it became much more staccato. It's so try write a song with a.
Sounds like fun.
That's really challenging.
Yeah.
And in Arabic, the ha, the ah, fa, fa, sa, dal, dal, dal. It's like you have the whole range of tones that you can use. So I was writing. I recorded an album, rock album, electric guitar, drums, bass in English in 2004. I sent it to labels in Israel. They said, "This is in English. What do you want from us?" And it was left in the, on the editing floor. And then I released another album in Hebrew, and I called it Direction because I didn't want to kind of focus on one genre. And at the same time, I was part of the first season of The Voice in Israel.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Very exciting.
I don't know if they have The Voice.
Yeah,
Right?
we have similar things here.
Yeah,
for sure.
so I reached the finals, and then I was asked to sign with this label. I said, "Yeah, let's take what I recorded." Anyways, it became kind of really challenging, and I was performing and I was releasing songs, but really independently. And I performed with many kind of groups just to bring money home. A lot of weddings, a lot of private parties.
Hey,
So
wedding.
I sang salsa, funk, Arabic, Hebrew, Spanish, French. I was kind of all over.
Okay.
But what happened now is kind of I'm just about to release a new song in Israel, and it's kind of a different genre that I haven't touched yet. Do you have the Masked Singer here?
I've heard of this. It's
I
in
don't
America,
think
the United States it exists.
Yeah, it's
There's
South
something like puts on a
Korean.
mask and you sing. Right?
Yeah.
Celebrities do this or something.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I was part of the first season. Actually won it, which was amazing. It was fun, but I had the opportunity to sing songs that I chose. I chose a lot of rock songs,
Nice.
and it brought me back to the origins.
Mm.
Really brought me again to the music. So I'm
That's exciting.
it's always
So and with your acting career now having moved forward, I'd imagine music is kind of in tandem with that now. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always challenging to trying to find the right way to work with these two because either the simple things of closing a gig, it's normally high famous places a month, 2 months before ahead, and if suddenly you get a new show, what do you do? How do you how do you control
How do
it?
you juggle that?
So, but I'm gonna take it step by step.
Yeah.
I think it's always gonna be interesting to try to work around these two things that I love to do.
Well, I think the thing that's really fascinating about speaking with you and your work in general is two things, and they kind of circle back to one, which is you take on challenging things and you challenge yourself in your work, and that's what you're driving yourself towards that. Why do you think that is? Like, what is it? Just that explorer in you from the time you were a child, your curiosity to the world.
I think it's these two, obviously.
Mhm.
You know, even as a kid, I was very curious. I
Mhm.
always remember, I mean, we moved countries every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that at a very young age, I realized that if I get to a new country,
Mhm.
then, what happened in the past stays in the past.
Mm.
I'm opening a new, I'm putting it in a drawer, and
Mm.
now I have a whole new world to discover.
Yeah, it's
And,
exciting.
just,
Mm.
so new languages, new cultures,
Mm.
friends. So I think it was a very basic thing, and this curiosity, this, I would say, yes, I like adventures.
Mm.
And again, I think when I go back to art, speaking and this, even in music, it's like when I was, this friend of mine, he had this salsa band. He said, "Do you mind come singing salsa?" And salsa is really like, it's in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there are any musicians here, but normally you have a one, two, three.
Yeah, it's very different.
Latin music, there's no one.
Mhm.
You get lost in 13,
Mhm.
13 trumpets, and then
Mhm.
if you lose the where you're at, then you're lost. You will
Yeah.
never find yourself.
Mhm.
So and I feel that taking on every time a new challenge, this is my school.
Mm.
Again, I never studied music, I never studied acting. I just learn it as I go by. I always say if I get the chance to, get to this
Mm.
pool
Mm.
without knowing how to swim, and I just jump and I
Figure it out.
Figure out, yeah, exactly. This is the way I chose, and this is the way
Mm.
I love it. It makes me feel alive.
Well, but also I think the fact that you moved around so much, it seems like that, apart from teaching you that the past is in the past, it teaches you that every new opportunity comes with a sort of fresh slate.
Yeah.
And you get to be someone new in that experience.
Yes.
And, moving around so much, getting to be new in a new place also comes with the baggage of what I did wrong and maybe how to improve upon that.
Maybe, yeah.
And that is also the nature of a curious person, is to learn from what has been and improve upon what will be.
Yes, and you never know where it leads you. But also, what you said is quite like, how do you say in English? Like that comes from the brain.
If you could say it in French, it's fine, but in Hebrew, I do the rest.
Shartani, it's like it's something, and I don't know if I'm conscious of these things. If you know if I acted differently,
Mm.
like if I go back to the child and said, okay, I had this experience there, and maybe I need to learn from it, because ultimately we're talking about, especially relationships,
Right.
Human beings. I don't think you can put human beings
In a box.
in a box and say, okay, if I acted with this person, and of course, when we talk about cultures, I mean, I've been 4 days in India, and like you said, this is such a
Mm.
it's a mass of it's cultures and ways of speaking, and so I think it's just every time, every moment, if you just come with it with, okay, this is new,
Mm.
let's, because if we stay, then we obviously we act,
Mm.
uh, we act in the way we acted before. But if you come like and try to try to be neutral, I mean, obviously we're human beings, we all have our like baggage and scars, but if you really try and approach it with a very, like you said, new, like this is new, this is the first time I'm doing it, this is the first human being I'm meeting, and who knows where it leads to.
Absolutely. And I think the word you're looking for is actually something you displayed beautifully in Bethlehem and in Fauda, which is empathy. One of the things that I really loved about your character in both pieces, particularly here, was, and this was highlighted in the first scene where you meet Sanfor, where the other agents are kind of rough, and they're it's designed to create this contrast of the human relationship that your character has with the boy, as opposed to the more sort of transactional relationship the agency seems to want to have with him.
Mhm.
And these kind of pushy agents, literally pushing, are designed to sort of show us that contrast. But I think what was really beautiful in the film, particularly when you tell him it's your idea you're going to Hebron, but you're going to Hebron,
Yeah.
was it didn't feel fake, that fatherly paternal space that he was in, the
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
You really felt that.
Totally.
And when you travel, when you see the world, when you put yourself in new experiences, even in your hometown, you just take a different way home, or you go to a different bar, or you wear something that's not your usual getup. It forces you to understand that the world sees you differently,
Mhm.
and it forces you to see yourself differently, and that creates this whole space of empathy that you have to have. And I think the thing that people sometimes forget is, everyone tries to have empathy for other people. We know that's the right thing to do, right? Be empathetic to someone's journey, but we forget to be empathetic to ourselves and kind to ourselves.
Yeah.
And when you travel a lot, and again, you're right. No one's like consciously thinking, "Oh, well, I was here and I did that, so let me not do that again." But you start to learn about yourself because you're constantly forced to see yourself in a different context, a different language, a different culture, a different school, a different teacher, a different friend. And that really came through in your performance. And I think that's maybe something that really works for you as an
Thank you
actor,
very much.
because you seem very at peace with yourself. And, a lot of people, when they come to acting, they start off at war with themselves, and it is the emotions game. And the first thing that comes out is that volcano of just everything that they wanted to say their whole lives. That spring releases, and suddenly and then that's when it starts to calm down. But you seem to possess that so naturally, and it's really lovely to watch.
Thank you very much.
That's
Thank you.
really, really lovely to watch because.
Thank you. I think if as a singer,
Mhm.
I always felt that this is my channel
Mhm.
to take out all this,
Mhm. Mhm.
that we have within us.
Grunge rock.
Yeah.
Nirvana, man.
Or the fact of performing on stage, and dancing, and so it's also. I mean, I seem very calm.
Mhm.
I could be very calm,
Mhm.
but it could be very
Oh, for sure.
fiery within.
Yeah, of course.
And I try to channel, and sometimes I channel it to the acting. I mean, it's always like finding the I mean, I feel again as musicians, as actors, as artists, we're really blessed.
Agreed.
We're lucky to be having this channel to be able to, to take it all out, and it comes out and it makes people act to it and feel and entertain. And so we're very lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, I really look at it as a blessing. And but what I mean, I wanted to add to what you said. Sometimes I think also when we don't feel good about ourselves is also something that we could work with.
Absolutely.
It's these places where I say, when you feel too comfortable, then it's for me like if I feel too comfortable, then it's not interesting. It's not bringing me anywhere. And sometimes you look to feel uncomfortable.
Well, that's also because, possibly since you're a kid, not to circle back to that again, but most people, to this day, 80% of people are born and raised within 100 miles of where they're, live. And you have had a different experience where you've pushed yourself, your parents, and that teaches you a certain comfort with discomfort, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You become comfortable in the idea that you're going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And most people never push themselves into that space. But then you learn that in the uncomfortable space, it's kind of like a balloon filling up more of the space. You learn how to do that. You learn how to become comfortable in the uncomfortable. And that's exciting. And I think that is definitely the passion of all artists, is we're sort of trying to create something meaningful, and that meaningfulness can't be about what we know. It has to be about what we don't know.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
really, really great. And, I'll add something else that I want to ask you about. If I could sing, if I could play an instrument, like a guitar, a melodic instrument, I would have been a musician. I would have never done any of this film or writing stuff. So,
Why?
because I'm tone deaf, actually. I learned that very early on in life. I have some really good classical musician friends that were like, Jeff, you're out of key, buddy. But you know, and writing and film was always what interested me. So that was a very natural fit for me. But as I've gotten into my 30s and now 40s, I was like, fuck it, I can dance pretty good. So let me try the drums. And I play drums. And, you know, I play drums purely for the fun of it. I absolutely have no agenda with it at all. Like maybe one punk rock concert would be enough for me, you know. But I say this, and here comes the question. Because I had no agenda with music, improving with it was the fun part. Because it was purely a joyful experience that belonged to me. Is that how you feel about acting? Because it was not something you sought out, not something you really ever thought you'd do.
I think it's both.
Mm.
I think I realized that, first of all, I just love it.
Mm.
You know, being an actor is mostly auditioning.
Mm.
It is.
Yeah.
You know,
They know all about that.
it's either auditioning or waiting, and you know, waiting between scenes, and auditioning again, and sending another audition, you know, to France, to there, and it's always it's like, listen, can you send an audition tomorrow? But wait, I mean, we don't have time, and so it's like, and I remember there was one time where there was like 2 years after I started acting, I was offered a role with this the movie, I think it's called The Fixer, with. Wow, James Franco.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big role, and I reached the point of like having Zooms with the director, and we were two actors, and eventually they took the other actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, for a whole day, I was, fuck this acting. I mean, I don't want to do this. I mean, why
Nobody in here could relate to that at all.
Yeah.
Nobody in here could, you know.
I don't need
Fuck this shit. I'm done with it.
Come on. Again, somebody's gonna choose whether to take me or not, and I'd spent all this time, and I did all these monologues and Zooms, and
I learned this
Fuck
shit.
them.
These
Yeah, I
fucking
wanna do it.
people.
And then after that day, I said, you know, I guess what we say just to feel good with ourselves is, what's yours is yours. That's it.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, you could always, I am pushing things forward. So, I mean, I really enjoy what I do. I love it. I don't know how to describe it. I just enjoy it. I feel I'm passionate about it. I love that it's new every time. I love that it's a new project. It's a new people. It's a new character. It's if it could be different languages. It's just fun, pure fun. Like I said, as a kid. But I think that I realized that I do have this platform to bring out any agenda that I think about, because I look at, since I was part also of some projects, that I realized that apart from being entertaining, they do make people think, at least. I don't know if they make them change their minds, but they make people think, and then you realize that you have a lot of power. I mean, we have a great opportunity to bring to the masses, or to the people that, you know, to the world, things that probably they would never, you know, have the chance to see. Whether it's through, you know, television or cinema or music in that sense. So I think I feel both. I enjoy it very much. I feel, you know, like I really come from the, and I, you know, I said, like I said, I mean, audition, and I've been auditioning. I sometimes I have weeks. I send lots of auditions. I send and say, fuck it, it's gonna be no. I don't know. Who cares? Who cares? And sometimes when you say who cares, and then they say, hey, we want you. I say, okay, really? Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the things I would say, and this is a question, you know, Israel as a country, much like India, is a relatively new place. I mean, it's an ancient place, right? And you know, it belongs.
We're actually two brothers and sisters.
Very much,
Brothers and sisters. Yeah.
Absolutely, for so many reasons. And you know, but Israel is internationally, you know, people have a lot of conceptions of Israel, and Israel itself has a lot of conceptions of itself within the country, right? So this is sort of a two-pronged question for you. Your character, he's a really nuanced guy in Bethlehem. Yeah, he's a really nuanced guy, because here he is, defending, and working for the Israeli state at the highest level.
Yeah.
To protect Israeli lives, right? But at the same time, he has become a father figure that he really feels for this boy, and this boy has a very complicated family life on his own in his own right.
Mhm.
Okay, so my question to you is, how was that perceived in Israel? Because people have a lot of notions about these topics, right?
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. I play a terrorist in one of the shows I do, and it's about the 26/11 attacks here in India,
Mhm.
and I play the guy who planned them. And the reaction when people hear that I do the show is, what do people think of this? And the crazy thing is, I've had people who were at the events of the attacks, and they'll come up to me after the show and hug me, and they have this completely opposite reaction. So I just wanted to ask you, like, how has a character like that been received in Israel and abroad? Because the film's done so well.
Um, I remember that, first of all, the reactions after any screening that, whether in Israel or international, was silence for a couple of minutes. And I realized that the first reaction is people try to understand what they have just seen. I think Bethlehem was the first time that this Israeli-Palestinian conflict was dealt with. Besides the news. And, what we see on news, Israel or whatever, it's always black and white. You don't see the real life. You don't see the other colors that exist in life. We have the whole range of colors. The whole. Eventually, it's just human stories, and this is what it is. It's a human story within this conflict. It could have been conflict in any other country, in any other place, or in that matter, I don't know, put it on, two different characters that come from, two different backgrounds and make them feel this. One of them, he lacks something that the other one brings it to him, and they really start feeling, towards one another, but they do have this sense of what's happening with, the broader picture. So I think people in Israel the audience in Israel was mostly very, it won the Israeli Oscars.
Oh, wow.
It was a big, it was a big success. Like,
Mazel tov.
thank you. Yeah, and but I do remember some of the voices saying, "Yeah, listen, this is a movie. It's one directed. It comes from the left. It comes from the right."
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, that's why I say I don't think you change their minds, but you can make them think.
Yeah.
I would say dying in a movie is always, you always get empathy from the audience. It's like, to those of you who have seen Fauda, after the second season, I'm gone, and people ask me, "Did you die?" I said, "No, they didn't even kill me. I was kind of."
Should have asked for a better exit than that.
No, I mean, yeah, I said, "Come on, at least I would have someone shoot me, throw a rock or something." You always remember the
Rock would be good. You're right. A lot of empathy for a rock. Right.
So I mean. I remember some of the the voices saying, but that's I think that exists also with Fauda or whatever. That exists every time you have this issue where it's a complex issue. You have people coming from one side of the political map. They would say, yeah, this is oriented to one direction, but Bethlehem was written by an Arab, a Muslim, and an Israeli. I feel that it really touches the human aspect of this,
Very
like you
much.
said, and it's amazing to it passes on to the audience, and you're less dealing with the work, and it all started from the director's will to understand how the human works, like the human work of the intelligence, how they get to make people work, make someone work with them, work against his values, work against his family, work against his country, and then it starts if Razi, I don't know if that character would have been just focused on the work and not someone that develops those feelings and things. I always took it like having kids that I don't see, but seeing him also
That's a beautiful line, yeah.
for Razi, for him.
Mm.
And that's why I always, like, when I looked at Shadley, I always felt it. Like I'm looking at I really felt it. Um, and he fills also the gap that exists within Razi. So, and I think at that specific, story, you lose the conflict and you stay focused on just two human beings that. So it was perceived, very, great feedbacks. And again, anything that could touch politics could always bring up discussions.
Sure. Well, no, because here in India, we have, our own issues with neighbors and friends and things like that. And films are made about those topics. And I think what Bethlehem did really, really well, was at some point you kind of forget that you're looking at, what are ostensibly enemies, and you start realizing you're just looking at people facing really complicated choices.
Yeah.
And that's beautifully done in the film. And I really, really appreciated that.
This is why I say there's no black and white.
No.
You like you say, you lose the sense of who is right, who's wrong.
For sure.
You know.
For sure. If I may share one thing with you, you can use this or not, but our actors hear this a lot from me. What is acting? That's a question you asked, and of course there really is no answer to that one. But at an acting studio, especially when you teach acting, you have to have some answer, right? No matter how bullshit it might be. And in my case, it's all bullshit. You can ask your friend Victor about that.
That's acting.
Yeah, but it is. But I think what I've gotten from you today, and I hope everyone else has, is you're an excellent communicator. And if you do that with your music, I trust you did it with your dance, and you've obviously done it with your acting. And that really is kind of what the arts are, isn't it? Communication.
Yeah.
It's, and acting is just a form of communication in a language of emotions.
Exactly.
And that's really kind of what we work on here. And, what's been a real pleasure for me, and I'm sure for everyone else, is to hear how, you do that. Because it's really special for actors, especially when they're at certain stages of their career, to speak with someone or get to know someone who is moving in the same direction. Because, just before you walked in, a couple of actors were talking to me about auditions, right? And I'm sure they're feeling a little bit less annoyed now because they heard
don't worry. We're all living the same hell of auditions.
Yeah. So
this is our story.
Yeah, exactly. So, but if we have 5 minutes, does anyone have any questions for Tsahi?
I think thank you very much for your question, first of all, and for your your insights. I think like I mentioned before, for me, acting, when I'm asked, it's all about feelings. It's all about being present, totally present, with all the feelings. And if I need to go back to that moment, I like I said, for me it was really like, he's not what he is. Shadi is not. He's just someone that I'm feeling. He's in stress and he's injured. And what would what do I feel at this moment? What do I feel like doing? And it's not conscience. It's not okay. Technically I will put the jacket there. Obviously, when we film, we do need to go into the techniques because it's cameras and stuff. But it was more just what do I do? How do I make him really feel comfortable? And what would be the right thing to do? And just I go with the feelings. I really, really try to go with the feelings. Sometimes, when we get to scenes and it's always working, okay, you're going to stand. A lot of times you need to stand this, you need to get stuck. Sometimes I use the fact of being stuck also. We have this, I'm sure you can connect to it sometimes when we're standing and what do I do with my hands? What do I do? Do I smoke now a cigarette? Or what?
No, actors never feel like their hands are balloons.
Do I pull it? And I said, Tsahi, just don't do anything with your hands. It's like, try to act. Okay, you don't need to do something with your hands. I've seen this series in Israel where, I swear to God, 60% of the characters are smoking in this room, in the office, outside. It's always the cigarette. I say, oh my God, they suffered probably in film that they smoke all the time. And I'm a smoker. So I really it's just trying to be present at and emotionally connected to the situation, to the character, at every single moment, and that will bring you. And sometimes, that will bring you to act in a certain way. And sometimes I challenge myself also, like I said with the hands. Sometimes I say, okay, the natural thing would be to smile, but maybe I will try not to smile and say different. Like that's specifically in auditions. And sometimes it works also in scenes. Like, we always have the director's notes and
We
some.
don't always get them here in India.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll get an assistant director walk up to us be like, try it this way. Another one will say, try it this way, and try it this way. And then you do it, and then you're just like, what?
So even like
You should do something.
even in auditions, and especially self tapes, there is the natural thing that you do, and I always try to think, oh, what would be something that lets me do something else. If he's supposed to be really happy, let's make him feel something else, and maybe that will bring something new. Surprise yourself. I surprise myself even on set. Sometimes before the scene, I say, okay, don't plan anything. Don't plan on where you're gonna go and when you're gonna just flow it and see what happens.
That's great.
Thank
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you for the question. I was mostly thinking about what I'm gonna eat for. um, like I said before we started filming, first of all, I kind of knew and I understood the theme before. Like I said, my military service brought me to understanding, to encountering people from the Shin Bet. I knew it. I had an uncle that was there. I called him. So and again, it was written really good. I mean, I just needed to say the lines, and the whole storyline was written. So. Like I said, the day before, I called the director and he said, listen, don't talk to anyone. And actually what happened, I would come to set, I would put on my gun, and the only person I spoke to and that was really kind of my therapist was the makeup artist.
They always are.
And from that moment, yeah, I cherish those. They're
They have all the secrets.
wow. And she was very experienced. And it was always these moments where I was, talking to her. I was very focused on every scene, especially the first week that we were filming, because I remember every day the producers would come, and we filmed the first week all the scenes with Shadi, these close scenes. What goes to mind, it's specific, it's very specific to every, you need to remember every moment. But I think my journey was, I would come very prepared. I was very ready with the lines. It was also remember Arabic and Hebrew, and I really wanted to be very correct with my Arabic. Normally the Shin Bet guys, they speak Arabic with a bit of an accent and stuff, but I worked on it very hard. So
We could tell, actually, all of us were.
Yeah.
Yes, we were all.
I was very ready. I was very focused, and I would just, I think it's, when you say what you think about, it's where your mind is. I think it's really trying to be that moment. Now I remember the scene where I sit in the car and I'm interrogating the guy and I'm very nervous. And I was really pumped. I was, and I thought of things that make me angry. And I took it out. So I think I had this natural sense at that moment, even to take things from my real life and try to implement them into the situation, using it again as a channel to express feelings. When I need to be angry, I don't need to play angry. I just need to think about something that makes me angry, and I hadn't had the chance to release it yet, and now I have the great opportunity to explode.
Acting's fun that way, right?
That's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get to take
I
it out.
actually, you asked me what my dream is. I would love to make a movie that has no dialogues at all.
Uh-huh.
Just
Great.
the sound, just express. Maybe just talking to yourself.
Yeah, no, listen, I tell them all the time, they're called motion pictures, not motion talking. And today, unfortunately, there's just so much dialogue everywhere that we don't let the picture tell the story. I'm going to check. Do we have what time for one more question?
Yeah. Well,
Okay, one last one. Go right ahead, someone.
Thank you for the question. I think first of all, it was a very emotional experience. We were in Venice Festival and Cannes and screenings in Los Angeles, and everything is kind, and you feel like I was okay. Well, and then for 2 years, nothing. I did 2 series in Israel, and I realized that this is natural. Yeah, you have these stories of suddenly. No, that was an opening door for me. I opened the door, said okay, and like I said, I started doing a lot of student movies just to learn acting, just to experience situations where I need to face the camera, I need to act, I need to lines um, and I think it was for a couple of years. But I was pushing. I had no agent when I signed this. Actually, I signed it alone. I had no agent. I remember even I came to the producer. I said, "Okay, you're gonna get paid X amount of shekels." I said, "But that's not enough. It's 4 months of work." And she said, "Okay, you don't want, then go." I said, "Okay, fuck you." And I went, and then I said, "You're dumb." And I was there. I said, "Okay, please, make them call me back. Make them call me back." And they called back, and they agreed to give a bit more money. And I was actually filming this while I was performing in the Voice. So I was one day playing music, that, and then having these scenes with Shadi, and I loved it. I said, "This is the way I want to do it." I just love the action. I love when it's not comfortable. So I was envisioning, like, first of all, I said I need to learn, and I need to, after Bethlehem came out, so I signed with a small agency in Israel, and I started, but I told you there was 2 series that I got accepted to, and then I had 2 years of silence. There was one theater musical, I did some musicals, which honestly, sorry, but I don't really like musicals.
That's okay.
But I did musicals. I was part of very big musicals in Israel. And actually, after I think it was 2015, Fauda came out. And it was funny. Also with Fauda, I had a story. When they approached me, I said, "No, I don't want to be part of this." I was still doing my reserves in the special unit that, like you see in Fauda, and it felt like I always taught my soldiers, you're modest, we don't talk about what we do, and then I'm gonna do this on television. This is crazy. But then I said, "Come on, Tsahi, when you're 36, 37, you just discovered the world of acting, you're gonna say no to a series like this?" And I said, "Okay." And it did become a hit, and it the fact that it became known internationally, obviously it opened up doors to all of us. And I always say you still need to push all the time. Even if you have an agent, I could honestly tell you I have 5 agents now, and I always push them because these are agents, they have many artists. And if you don't push yourself, then nothing's gonna happen. This is why, again, I was doing student movies because you never know who you're gonna work with and where this movie is gonna be screened. I did this student movie in Israel. I think it was in about 30 festivals around the world. And you never know. So it's kind of, on one hand, I know we need some luck.
Yeah.
We need it.
Go to the casino with it.
We need some luck, but I think it has. I don't build on luck too much. I just always
Keep working.
keep working, keep pushing. any experience that you can gain, as an actor, I believe will help you, achieve your goals. And I can tell you, it's an ongoing job. It's never ending. I'm always pushing forward. This is why I'm in India also. Anyway.
Well, I think that's all we have time for, but can I ask you just one favor?
Yeah.
You said you learned a Hindi song for here, right? I'm sure some people will jump in, but if you could sing a few of
You have a guitar here?
We don't have a guitar, but
Oh.
if you could just maybe go a cappella.
But I just need okay, let me excuse me, but I do need the words because
It'd be a treat for all of us to hear.
It's from Yarana, Villages.
just a second. No, I have it. Don't worry. Just but I'm gonna have to put my glasses too.
That's okay. You're not getting old, you're just getting better.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but okay.
That's what I tell myself every day.
Yeah. Okay. मेरी जिंदगी सवारे मुझको गले लगा के पाता दिया फलक पे मुझे कसे उताके यारा तेरी यारी को मैंने तो खुदा माना याद करेगी दुनिया तेरा मेरा अफसाना तेरे जैसे यार कान सयाराना याद करेगी दुनिया तेरा मेरा अफसाना.
You got your background singers right here. So, Tsahi, it's been really great, man. Thank you so much, man. Thank you. I know they've got to get you out the door quick.
You haven't told us how you knew him.
What?
Okay. Tsahi and I know each other long before we met each other.
Yeah.
It turns out, when I moved to LA at the age of 23 years old, I started working with this crazy guy who is a Belgian-Israeli fellow. And I wrote a film with him many, many years ago. Victor Shapiro,
Yeah.
right, Victor. You know Victor as well, right?
You know Victor
Yeah,
also?
she met him in LA.
Oh,
So,
Nice.
and when I moved to India.
He's a star in India.
Yeah.
Tell him to come to India.
Yeah, that's right. I keep telling him to come to India. And Vic and I are old friends, and he keeps telling me about his buddy who's this really famous actor and singer in Israel. And when I met with the consulate, they said his name, and I was like, wait a second, spell that for me. I had him spell it, and I sent it across to Victor, and he wrote back immediately, and he said, that's him. And I was like, there you go. So it's been a real pleasure to have you today, man.
Thank you very much.
Really, truly.